Ciara, hello, and welcome to Anyway, the podcast where I unpack the chaos of reality TV. I am your host, Natalie McMurray, coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Today we're diving back into the Summer House reunion. Here we go again for round 3. Let's get into it. We open with a shot of New York City, and for some reason, the choir ladies from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City are here with us. Very dramatic. Everyone is heading back to the stage after the lunch break. Ciara is wrapping up her FaceTime with Meija. Bailey, West, and Amanda are all out in the stage area. And Bailey asks Amanda if she's hanging in there. To which she responds, no. Bailey asks if she wants to come sit with her. Bailey is worried about Amanda. Amanda says maybe she's being a bit naive. Bailey says, I do not trust that man one bit. None of us do. Amanda says, maybe this is a huge mistake and I'll wake up one day. I say, let's hope for your sake, Amanda, that day comes sooner rather than later. She seems completely devoid of emotion, energy, fucks to give. I don't know. Everything, really. Kyle tells Lindsay that she's unbelievable. He's finding it fun to watch her direct her anger at somebody else but him. Which is fair enough, Carl. Lindsay wants to know how 2 6'5" men can have such a height discrepancy while seated. She's questioning the torso to leg ratio. Either that, or Jesse just doesn't know how to sit up straight. Jesse does look like he has long legs, though. Maybe that is the issue. Andy welcomes us back. He wants everything left on the table so everyone can move forward. Andy wants to know how the romance between West and Amanda came about. Basically, West is taking Amanda's re-found happiness as a personal accomplishment. He says it's all down to her spending time with him and his friends. Okay. She doesn't seem that happy. Andy asks Amanda when it happened for her. She says Wes said something to her along the lines of, is there something here? And a flood of emotions overcame her. Pretty fucking ambiguous. Andy says, to be clear, were you having an affair over the summer? And they're all absolutely not in unison. You might want to try being less suspect, you guys. For real. Let's say is because we've lied, of course nobody is going to believe us. Which is true. You fucking liars, that's why. And Jesse points out that not only did you lie, you gaslit us and made us feel crazy for thinking that there was something going on. They all chime in and say things like, you were playing tricks on the internet. Ciara says, you guys are so fucking calculated, why would anybody believe anything you say? Mia explains why she thinks there was something going on. She has 2 things. One was the intense hug that they had after Carl and Kyle had their fight. Amanda was seeking emotional comfort from West in a more than just friendship type of way. The second was when West was basically spooning Amanda while she was out talking to Kyle about the fight and sniffing her hair weirdly. I agree, both of those things are super weird. And honestly, there's a bunch more I can think of too. Him pulling his chair over to Amanda. He told Amanda that he loved her in the bathroom after Kyle said fuck you to her the first time. That time he sat on her, which is his fucked up way of expressing affection. The myriad of weird long hugs that we saw. Anyway, Wes says you would have clocked it if something was going on. And Mia basically says, no, because we weren't looking at it through that lens. We were looking at it through the lens of Amanda being a victim and that you both wouldn't do something like that. Andy says, did you have a crush on each other at the time? Wes says, no, but we got closer. Amanda says, I was caught up and lost in the fallout of my marriage. The more I'm watching this, the more I'm thinking about how West has emotionally manipulated Amanda. I don't want to say he emotionally manipulated her into the situation, but I definitely think it's part of it. Maybe that's what she's trying to portray, and I'm wrong. I'm also not trying to excuse her part in it whatsoever. Obviously, she should have ignored all this bullshit and thought about Ciara. But she does keep saying, I had no feelings for him up until he said something, and that she was in emotional turmoil at the time because of the breakdown of her marriage, and she was vulnerable. Also, if she is trying to portray West as a manipulator, that's super weird because she's actively in a relationship with him. So that seems doubtful. Anyway, the people will say you at least had a more emotional relationship than you're admitting to, which West agrees with. Lindsay says to Amanda, when you yelled at West for making out with the girl on his lap, you were clearly doing that for yourself and not Ciara. Kyle has a pressing timeline question. He wants to know if these two dummies ever fucked in 2025. He gives zero shits about an emotional affair, which is kind of funny. Lindsay rightly points out that an emotional affair is so much worse. Me asks, did you come forward just because of the speculation, or were you going to tell us all eventually? Amanda says, to be so honest, which makes me think she's about to be dishonest. She says that they did come forward because of the speculation, because she was still trying to figure everything out with what was happening with West and Meija. Mia would like to clarify that her hesitation was not because she didn't want to hurt Ciara. It was to see whether West had a girlfriend. Thank you, Mia, for your service. Amanda then babbles about knowing how she handled it wrong and apologizes to Ciara again, according to her. I'm trying to think if we've seen her apologize before this. Did we and I forgot about it? All I recall was her scoffing and rolling her eyes. Where was the first apology? Is that an editing issue? I don't know. Andy says, being the slam pig that you are, West, I assume that you were seeing other girls the whole time. Didn't Meija know that you were dating around, or did she think you were exclusive? He says they weren't exclusive. Ciara says you're a big old stupid liar because he sent her flowers for Valentine's Day. West then says, I've been not clear with a zillion women I've dated prior to this. I mean, Jesus Christ. And again, I say, hello, Amanda. Are you receiving this information? This is ground control to Major Tom. You're off your course. Direction's wrong. Somebody get the smelling salts. I hate that I've just brought David Bowie into this. I just need to apologize. When I find myself in times of trouble, David Bowie comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. I can't stop. Okay, focus, Natalie. Only 30 more minutes to go. You can do this. Kyle wants West to clarify if he was exclusive with Meija. He says no, but she thought they were. This fucking piece of shit. Andy wants to know how the people know the details of West and Meija's relationship. The people have their ways, Andy. Do not question them. I mean, actually do question them because it's literally your job. Ciara says she has a timeline because she's been in contact with Meija. She says to West, you were saying I love you to this woman. He has that dumb look on his face again, but no words. Also, just as a side note, I'm irritated that I now keep seeing people post stuff online about what this idiot is saying on his podcast. Apparently, he's more fucking chatty than he's ever been on that thing, which I guess is literally what podcasts are for. But if you couldn't say it at the reunion, I don't want to fucking hear it. And who's listening to that podcast? I couldn't be less interested. Stop it. Anyway, Amanda says, some of this is new information to me. Yeah, we know, Amanda. West would like to dispute the term girlfriend being applied to Meija. But the people are all, you're exclusive, and that's what exclusive means, which West then sheepishly agrees with. I now see some form of emotion appear on Amanda's face. Is she pissed at West? Let's hope so. Jesse says that he met Meija in October, and he was under the impression that they were not exclusive. He's getting emotional again. He says he knows he's not the one that needs sympathy, but he's going to ask us for it anyway. He's heartbroken about the group being torn apart. It's understandable. Andy then wants to talk about West not trying to portray to everyone that he's boyfriend material. He asks if Amanda and West are monogamous. West initially says yes, and then recants saying, not since we express feelings. Which I guess means they have been since they started hooking up. Andy now wants to know if they feel pressure to stay together. West says yes. But that's not why they are together. L-O-fucking-L. Oh my God. Yes, it is. That's exactly why you're together. Andy says, this seems dangerous to me with someone who clearly has commitment issues. You're walking a fine fucking line, West. Kyle says he feels fucked up because he considered West to be one of his best friends. And all the shit that he's learned about him recently is disturbing because he still does care about Amanda. And we all know that West is absolutely going to screw her over. You can lead a horse to water, Kyle. Anyway, Kyle feels like an absolute fool for talking to West about his marriage, his sex life, his business. West then says everyone is justified in feeling like I'm the worst person ever to be having a relationship with. You can say that again. Lindsay wants to know if there's anything West can say to reassure everyone. There's not. But he babbles some word salad, so no. He has nothing. They're discussing the breadcrumbing on social media. And Amanda is saying it's so easy to read into everything in retrospect. Ciara calls bullshit. She says girls post so consciously, subconsciously, even down to the song. Ciara is correct. I overthink a song choice like my life depends on it being the right one. Andy then says to Amanda, the thing about this situation and the reason people are so upset is because of the friend betrayal. And everyone having to watch Ciara build you up in so many scenes to the nth degree. Amanda says, I did a really shitty thing. Ciara rebuts and says, you're still doing a shitty thing. Andy tells Amanda to tell Ciara how she's feeling about betraying her. Amanda seems confused by the question. He's really trying to squeeze blood out of a stone here. Poor Andy. I do not envy his position. Amanda says this has been a confusing and crazy time and a bunch of other shit. But she's not looking at Ciara. She's not talking to her. She's trying to work through what she perceives to be a PR nightmare. Which this is, but Andy asked you to talk about your friendship, which you clearly don't give a fuck about. Because Andy just gave you ample opportunity and you fucked it. Ciara says again, you do not feel bad. You sent me one pathetic text before this all came out. And Ciara could not in any scenario fathom that Amanda would be fucking her ex. Ciara is crying. Amanda is still a robot. Ciara says, if you were my friend, you would have thought about how much this would hurt me. And that Wes wants revenge on her because he's with Amanda in spite of her. Andy says, Ciara, you said watching the season back that has been a major mindfuck. He wants to know all the gory details and asks which scenes were the hardest to watch. She says the last scene when they were leaving the house. The scene where she's telling Amanda how much she loves her and how special she is. Amanda is sitting there stone cold listening to this. What the hell? Ciara says she doesn't regret being there for Amanda because to see a broken woman made her sad. She wants to build women up, which is a beautiful thing. Apparently, Amanda is going to be doing a lot of thinking and a lot of reflecting, which prompts an eye roll from Ciara and the entire audience. Lindsay wants to know how Amanda didn't know this was all going to turn to shit. I mean, fucking, yeah. Great question. And Jesse is still crying. He's sad that he's losing a brother. Andy wants to know how West feels about Jesse being sad. And he doesn't really seem bothered, to be honest. Then Andy asks the question we all want to know. He says, no offense, but are you on like a bunch of beta blockers or something? Because everyone else is super upset and you're completely void of emotion. West says he's on beta blockers, but he has no idea if that's the issue. I don't really know what the fuck beta blockers are. I saw Ciara say on Threads that they don't numb your actual emotions, but they curb the physical reactions to anxiety and stress. I'm paraphrasing. So with that assessment, I assume what we're seeing here is not the work of a beta blocker. Who fucking knows? Unless they come out and tell us, it's all speculation. Andy asks Amanda if it was all worth it. Bailey is hoping, wishing, and praying that she will say no. Amanda says she wishes she could have both. By that, I guess she means both Ciara and West. And he wants to know if they're in love. I guess it's too early for them to say. But Jesse throws West right under that bus and says, he told me he thinks he loves her. Mia is laughing. Lindsay basically says, you're being an idiot, Amanda. And Bailey yells, he's going to embarrass you. A lot of us would say he already has. Carl is incredulous. He says, and you still want to be with him even after all of this shit? That's a yes, Carl. Amanda is up shit creek without a paddle. Andy asks Wes if he can give Amanda what she needs in a partner, even though he already knows the answer. Wes says he's committed to making an effort. If he and Amanda can get back to how they were in the early days, and everyone is all, what the fuck do you mean by the early days? You've only been together for 6 weeks by your timeline. This fucking dummy. You've just fucked over your own stupid timeline, which nobody believed anyway. This man thinks that relationships should be all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. If he ever has a real one, he'll realize that they're hard work. But this dickhead wouldn't know hard work if it slapped him in the face. Lindsay's over it. Again, she is all of us. Time for a break. Mia and Lindsay are like, we've been here for 10 fucking hours and we still don't know shit. I feel the same way, even though I've only been watching for a little bit less than 3 hours. During the break, Andy asks how West feels. He feels bad. Kyle is upset. He wants to know if West is going to treat Amanda right. Amanda walks back up on stage and hugs Kyle. He starts crying. He hates the fact that their 10-year relationship is being talked about like it was all bad. From what we saw, most of it was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. Lindsay comes back on stage and declares, Andy, I haven't learned anything. She says there's not been a lot of clarity. Andy is all, fuck it, let's start over again. Lindsay wants to know why it took until today for West and Amanda to think this shit through. She says, I'm looking at you, West, because you're the manipulator here. Kyle says he just wants to make peace with this whole situation. He just wants to have an amicable divorce with Amanda. He says, God forbid our friends have to choose sides, or the audience has to choose a side. I'd like to say the audience has already chosen Kyle, and it comes as a shock to everyone that they are indeed on your side, because you are certainly no angel. Andy gives Ciara the final word. He wants to know if today was cathartic for her. She says yes, and it's nice to move on with her life. He tells us that Ciara helped raise $160,000 for Girl Scout Troop 6000 as a result from all of this mess, which is fucking amazing. So good. They end the reunion with Girl Scout cookies. West goes to eat his and immediately gets scolded by Amanda, who says, don't eat it yet, we're supposed to be cheersing. Welcome to your new life, West. Enjoy being Kyle Jr. If Jesse is Kyle Jr., West is Kyle Jr. Anyway, we see a preview of a bonus episode coming next week. Just when I thought I didn't have to see this blonde worm with a mustache again. But we do get to see Meija, which is interesting. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.